Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to. Is this the fourth breakfast show? What day are we on today? Wednesday. Do you know the problem is when you're getting up this early in the morning, you forget what day it is. I've had to totally reset my um, internal clock because the bottom line is I used to be doing live streams with Paul until about midnight, or by the time you'd got offline and you'd done stuff. So that means I was getting very little sleep. So I've got to totally change everything, get used to these early mornings. But good morning, everybody, and great show last night. If you didn't see the show last night with Chris Wickland, get on and watch it. It's on all the channels. I thought Chris was absolutely fantastic. A real voice of a really mature Christian and spiritual voice. And yeah, I just thought absolutely amazing. I'm gonna read some Bible verses because I think that works to get us all kicked off in the morning with something really positive. So just give me 2 seconds. I'm going to try and get these actually on the screen. Bear with me, see if I can get this done. Let's have a little look. Here we go. So, okay, right. Where are we? There we go. Okay. Okay. Right. So here we go. So verses from all over the Bible, but I just think if we can start the day in a positive frame of mind, because there's so much bad news. I mean, yesterday I was doing well until I got that news about I hadn't even heard about that attack until yesterday, and that's how much the news is not talking about this stuff. Um, and then the news of the Afghan invader allegedly murdering someone broke, and I just, I'll be honest, I lost the plot a little bit. But anyway, we've got to realize that we've got a God that loves us, and despite our immense failings and our immense pathetic weaknesses, cares about us and has our best interests at heart. And these are just a few verses. The Lord, and I've put a little title on all these. First one, the Lord never gives up on his children, and that's absolutely true. God doesn't give up on his children. And this is from Lamentations. We just started reading Lamentations, and it says this: the steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. Isn't that amazing? That despite how pathetic we are as creatures in the sight of God, his love for us never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. So every time we get up, we can say, well, God's mercies are new today. I've got new mercies today. I've got new blessings today. They're new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. And there's that famous hymn, Great is Your Faithfulness, which I think was written by a guy who just lost his family in a shipwreck in the Atlantic. I think that's the hymn. Absolutely amazing. Strength, fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. And I know there's a lot of people come on my channel and you're really struggling. And believe you me, I know what that feels like. I know exactly what that feels like. You've very little thought of yourself. You're feeling bad about yourself. You're feeling bad about things that have happened in your life. You just feel you've made a mess of everything. But God loves you, and God's saying he's going to strengthen you every single day in life. If you go to God, God will strengthen you. God will take you. What does he say here? Fear not, I'm with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. And that really means literally that God's holding out his hand for every single human being, waiting for you to come to him. That's the sort of God I serve. Not the God of Islam, not a God that's just waiting to beat you with a big stick or hit you with a hammer. No, a God who's holding out his hand, a God who became a man and came down to earth. Joy and perseverance. Weeping may tarry for the night, but joy comes with the morning. There's joy every single morning in life for a believer. I don't know about you. When I get up, as soon as I wake up, and what I try and do, I try and wake up, read the Bible for a few minutes, and as soon as I wake up, that's me on for the day. That's me. I'm at it. That's why doing this breakfast show isn't too much of a trial. And again, with all that's going on, I was talking to Pastor Chris last night, and he's deeply worried about a lot of things, and his worry is a godly worry. But the Bible's saying, don't worry, don't be anxious for anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your request to God. So we can just talk to God about what we're concerned about, what we're worried about. We can talk to God about our failings. We can talk to God about what His plans for our lives. But with God, there is no negative vibe. There is no negativity. Yes, He hates sin. Yes, He punishes sin. And yes, the reason that nations and people get judged is because of sin. But God's given us the solution to sin in His Son, Jesus Christ. And this passage finishes off, present your request to God, and the peace of God, which transcends understanding, or which passes all understanding, as it says in the King James Version, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Philippians 4, verses 6-7. And finally, from Proverbs, this famous verse: trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, in all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your path straight. It says in the NIV there, submit to Him, acknowledge Him, submit to Him. But again, if we're putting our trust in the Lord, we don't have to worry about what's going on. We don't have to worry about all the pandemonium that's going on in the world. And I'm going to look at a few stories this morning. I'm going to play a video of Tommy in Nazareth. I spit my teeth out. Nazareth. By the way, I just want to, if we could just, before we do anything, Bess isn't in the chat this morning, but I want to pray for Bess as a group. If we just do that now, we'll just pray for Bess, because I know she. Somebody said we need to pray for her. Yes, I missed it. My wife told me about it when I came off the live last night. So let's just pray for Bess. Father, we bring Bess before you, Lord God, and thank you for everything that she's doing. And Lord, I pray that you would help her in anything that's going on in life, any health problems, Lord, any emotional problems, Lord, that you just bless Bess and just be with her, Lord, and let her feel a real sense of your presence today. She's been an amazing help to what we're trying to do here, Lord, and I pray that you would just stand with her and bless her in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, right. So let's dive into some of this stuff. We're going to play this video that Tommy put together. Let's have a look.
We're in Nazareth, which is the birthplace and the home of Jesus' mother, Mary. We're now about to enter what is described as one of the most fabulous and beautiful churches, and it's the largest church in the state of Israel. Told us that these are Chinese Christians. Obviously the communist Chinese government hate Christianity, but since Israel got closer with China, he said there's literally hundreds of thousands of Chinese flying in here, finding their religion, and at least being able to be free to express their religion. There's something very special about how Christianity brings everyone together. I think that's what we've lost, and there's something special standing in these historic places and these churches. It gives you an amazing feeling. Look at the architecture, look at all of it, and the history. You can see the different layers downstairs as you look in. That church is from the Crusades, but there's definitely, I'd advise anyone who's searching for their religion, searching for their faith, searching for identity, or just cares about history or what's built Western civilization, where we've come from, what gave us the values, what created the best civilization the world has ever seen. Come here, experience it, see it. That's what
I think I'll be honest with you. I think what's coming across in everything. You know, I'm a bit, as you can probably gather, I'm a bit obsessive about things. And when I really put my mind to something, it's all of my mind. It's not just little bits. But I think there's something very, and I know a lot of people watching this every morning are Christians, but I think there's something very, very deep happening in the country and in the world that I've never seen before and never experienced. And I suppose because it's at the heart of our movement, there's those guys that are out. I'm sure they're back now. I haven't been in touch with Tommy for a while, but the that trip to Israel by Tommy and all the people that went with him, Liam and Leo Kursk, and I said Alex Stewart last night when I was talking about Alex Phillips. It's Alex Phillips that was that's been out there in Israel, but that team that's been out there, I think, will have undoubtedly been massively impacted by the fact that Israel is the Holy Land, what we used to call the Holy Land. And it is the epicenter. Jerusalem is the epicenter of spirituality. It was always thought to be the center of the world, the center of the universe. But spiritually it is, because that's where it all happened. That's literally, you know, the Bible is a book about that land and about the people of that land. You can't get away from that. You know, when you think about Jesus, Jesus was Jewish. You know, there's a Jewish friend of mine. He said when they were kids, they used to say a verse. What was it? Yeah, roses are red, violets are blue. I am a Jew, and Jesus was too. I thought that was great. And the guy that said that, if he's watching this, I don't know if he watches this early in the morning, but he's a good friend of mine. Been very very good to the movement and been a great help to all of us. And can I say his name? I feel like saying his name, but I'll probably not, just in case he doesn't want to be. He doesn't want to be. But I thought that was a great little verse, you know, a great little verse. Let's look at some of the political stuff. I know it's mundane. I know it's a bit boring. Obviously, the ongoing thing with this attack in Uxbridge, and again, the Met are intimidating people, telling people not to talk about it, telling people not to speculate, telling people not to spread misinformation. I mean, any information that anybody is spreading is information that's been in the public domain and has come from the media. So, you know, why the Met feel the need to do that. But again, what this is about, it's all about containing the narrative and basically squashing anything. And I don't know what the motivation of this nutcase was to go and stab 3 people. But I do know, if he didn't come to the country, there'd be a man still alive that's lying dead now. I know that, because I think we can say that quite safely. You know, all this intimidation by police forces when there's a murder on their watch. You know, and look, here's the thing about the police on the ground, they do what they do, and sometimes they do a good job, sometimes they do a bad job. They seem to contain that situation pretty quickly. Like I said yesterday, I really do think when someone's running about with a machete and just murdered someone, lethal force should be used. Is that justifiable in the law? I don't really know. But again, it just infuriates me that people are able to come to our country, have all the blessings of being in the United Kingdom, and then take a liberty and start, you know, attacking people and killing people allegedly. We all have to say allegedly, even though the guy was caught dripping in blood with a machete in his hand. But there you go. Anyway, let's have a look at some of these political news stories, because I definitely think they're worth looking at. Patrick Christie's on GB News, and this is a story by Susanna Siddell, or opinion by Susanna Siddell. But Patrick Christie's did a monologue talking about integration, and I don't know whether there's time for integration. with a lot of these people. It says we must integrate and bend the rules of Britain's diverse multicultural dreamland. How are you going to integrate people that want to take over and dominate our country? That's the question I think we've got to ask. That's the big question. That's the big elephant in the room, isn't it? How are we meant to integrate with people that absolutely don't want to integrate? How do you do that? It's a big question, isn't it? It's a massive, massive question, and nobody is basically giving the answers to these questions. So, if people don't want to be part of our country, and they don't want to stand with us, how can we integrate with them? I just don't see how it's possible. I really genuinely don't see how it's possible. So yeah, give me your thoughts. I'm just trying to share this page here. Sorry, there we go. We must integrate and bend the rules of Britain's diverse multicultural dreamland. I don't think we can integrate. Let me know in the comments. I don't think we can integrate those men that were walking through Tower Hamlets on Saturday. I don't see how we can. I don't see how we can. I mean, I'll just read what it says here. The Met banned the political party UKIP from demonstrating in Tower Hamlets because it might have brought fear and distress to the local Muslim community. Now, it doesn't say. It does seem to me like the local community wasn't really that fearful. This is the problem. How can you integrate people that are saying we're not here to take part, we're here to take over? It has to be mass deportation. It has to be de-radicalization. It has to be, like I've said, banning and not having this idea that it's okay to come to this country and have barbaric practices carried out on the streets of our country, honor killing, FGM, polygamy, women being treated as second-class citizens, the burqa, the easy divorces in the Sharia courts. All of that stuff has to stop. Halal slaughter has to stop. All of these things, they have to be clamped down on. So I'm not one for integrating that into our culture. If the people that come start living as Brits, that's different. But they're not going to. That's the problem. We've seen it. They were meant to integrate. There's no problem with our West Indian friends. There's no problem with our Nigerian Christian friends. There's no problem with our Buddhist friends from Nepal. There's no problem with Gurkhas that served in the military coming out. When did you last hear of a Gurkha that served in the British military doing anything heinous, committing a crime, going and stabbing someone on the street? And the Gurkhas are fierce. The Gurkhas are some of the fiercest warriors that the British Army's ever produced. When did you ever hear of them ever doing anything that was against British law? No. They served in the British military, they came here and they integrated. But not the case with the Islamists. So I think it's too late for integration. I think we just need mass deportation. It's as simple as that. I think if Muslims are not willing to settle in our country and do what needs to and live the way that they need to live, then they need to go. I just think it's as plain and simple as that. And yeah, if people don't agree with me, that's up to them. They're not here to integrate. We can see that clearly. They're here to take over. They're saying that. I think that's the situation that we're at. Islam is a Christian heresy which involved from the anti-Trinitarian movement. Absolutely bang on. Absolutely. It's the what was called the Arian heresy or the Arian heresy. There was a bishop called Arius who denied the Trinity. There was a big debate. Athanasius, another bishop, won the debate. The Athanasian Creed, as far as you know, wasn't written by Athanasius, but goes if you can get an old Book of Common Prayer, or even just Google the Athanasian Creed, and read it. It tells you about what was going on, and this is exactly what Islam is. Islam is a heresy of Christianity. It is a heretical cult, and it's horrendous. Hate speech. Whoever says that should be punished like we would for speech. Yep. Yeah, it is. The list is endless, isn't it? The list is endless. Make deportation great again. The problem is we've never done any deportation, and And it's just coming to this mass deportation. And the politicians of all parties, and I mean all parties, need to get with this. They really need to get with this. They need to realize that we can't pussyfoot around with this. We can't mess about. We can't say, oh, we're going to just do it using British culture. No, we've got to be radical, and we've got to basically make it impossible for extremists to live in this country. We've got to make it so they want to leave. If they can't carry out their barbaric practices in our midst, they will have to leave. And I've gone through the points. I think I've got about 20 points of what we can do to de-radicalize our country. And there's a massive part of it is you stop them carrying out the barbaric practices that they carry out. And once that's happened, once that becomes completely untenable, you know, if anybody that's caught grooming, they're gone, and the family are gone. Simple as that. You know, I remember when the Intifada was on in Israel years ago, they would, if a jihadist had carried out a murder, they'd obviously deal with the jihadist and they'd demolish the house that the people lived in. That's what they used to do. You know, and now let me get this right. In the 1970s, Israel drove the PLO out of Gaza and the West Bank. They all went. They got rid of them. They literally drove them out, and they had to go and live in. I think it was Algiers or somewhere like that, and Lebanon. So, you know, there is precedent for this in modern times. Okay, so let's have a look at the next story. Now, this is a very interesting one. Okay, so this is from the Daily Telegraph, and it says Labour poll rating hits all-time low. Now, that sounds like good news, and in a way, it is good news. Okay, because obviously we want the Labour Party to be punished so badly that they never recover. But the other problem is, look at what just happened in Wales. And we'll talk about this in a minute. But in Wales, an even more extreme party than the Labour Party won. And I think that's really very, very worrying. So let's have a look at what this says. So Labour hits its lowest poll rating ever with a YouGov poll in a fresh blow to Keir Starmer. The Government Party has fallen to just 17% of the vote and some 10 percentage points behind Reform UK and just 1 point ahead of the Greens. Now, this is the thing that worries me. If we've seen Zach Polanski and the way he's been behaving and the things that he's been saying, he's worse than the Labour Party. His party is full of Islamists. Let's get it right. He's literally done a deal with the devil. Polanski's Jewish, and he's done a deal with people that would quite happily see his head on a spike, and that's the way it is. So it's not that people are being less left wing. People have been more left wing, which I find just incredible. How could anybody? If you're watching this, let me know in the comments. If you're watching this and you vote Green, or you've ever voted Green, just to see if there's any absolute lunatics watching my channel. Well, we know there's lunatics watching the channel because there's a lunatic speaking on the channel. But how many people would even think about voting for that Green Party under Zach Polanski? It just blows my mind. And it shows how radicalized the left are getting. We're being told that we're extremists, and we know we're not. But how radical are the left getting? Anyway, this piece goes on. It follows a torrid week for Sir Keir Starmer, in which Labour suffered a historic defeat at the Caerphilly by-election in Wales, and 5 grooming gang survivors withdrew from the national inquiry. The chaos facing the government on immigration has also been highlighted by 2 incidents the past week. Days after a Channel migrant deported to France under the 1-in, 1-out scheme returned to the UK on a small boat, a migrant sex offender was mistakenly released from jail. I mean, all this stuff is just, the incompetence is not just from the Labour Party, it's from the whole establishment. How that even could happen, how they could even think about releasing this guy. And if they didn't know, you know, who was responsible for that? Who let this guy out? Hadush Kabatu, who was housed at the Bell Hotel in Epping and jail for sexual assault of a teenage girl, was returned to prison about 36 hours later after being spotted in public. Public concern about immigration is at its highest level for a decade. Sir Keir and his ministers have attempted to blame the previous Tory government for the chaos in the asylum and justice systems. Here's the thing. Do you know what amazes me? Is that anybody in our country would vote for these clowns. You know, okay, he's dropped to 17%. But if the Greens are on what are the Greens on? 15% or something? You know, I just find that absolutely staggering. And look, if the Greens splitting the vote gets Labour booted into touch forever, I'm quite happy with that. But the problem is there's still a lot of really dumb people in our country that are voting for these clowns. And I find that very, very worrying. So it goes on. New levels of unpopularity. That the YouGov poll suggests the government continues to hit new levels of unpopularity amid reports the Prime Minister could face a leadership challenge within months. I mean, listen, Keir Starmer is horrendous. He's the worst Prime Minister I've ever seen. And that's saying something because we've had some absolutely pathetic Prime Ministers. I thought Theresa May was dreadful. I thought Gordon Brown was dreadful. I thought Tony Blair was dreadful and evil. Cameron, hug a hoodie, call me Dave was shocking. Nick Clegg, the Deputy Prime Minister, was shocking. They've all been absolute horror stories since probably Margaret Thatcher, actually. And listen, Thatcher wasn't everything she was cracked up to be either. She did a lot of damage to British industry, and she was a globalist by all accounts. Anyway, so then it goes on. It says Reform's 10-point margin over Labour is consistent with its commanding poll lead in recent months, although its 27% share is lower than its peak of 29% with YouGov in May. Meanwhile, Labour and the Tories are now tied in second place on 17% for the first time since the general election. It means that support for Sir Keir Starmer's party has halved since the election, when it won 34% of the popular vote. Despite Kemi Badenoch's muted start as Tory leader, the figure suggests Sir Keir has managed to shed significantly more support since the national poll. In signs that the electorate appears more fragmented than ever, the Greens are fourth with a record high vote share of 16%. I mean, if you add Keir Starmer's 16% to the 17%, if you add Zach Polanski's 16% to Keir Starmer's 17%, talk about the Greens and Labour Party, that figure I find shocking. 33% of the public would vote for these clowns. That means we're living in clown world. We're living in a completely crazy world. If 34% of the British public are supporting these nutcases, I think that's 34% of people that probably need psychiatric help. It's incredible. So if you take what is it that Reform are on? So Reform are on 27%. The Conservatives are on 17%. Okay. So what's that coming up to? We're talking a little bit shy of 50% of the vote, right? So where does that leave British politics? Because if with this massive lead in the polls, and we're going to look at this in a minute, this massive lead in the polls, the Reform Party couldn't actually win that seat in Caerphilly because of tactical voting. We're in a very dangerous situation. We could end up, if things go dramatically wrong on the right, and this is where we need to really think about what we're doing on the right. If things go dramatically wrong on the right, we could end up in a situation where, despite us having nearly 50% of the popular vote between all the parties, remember, Advance are going to be coming in there as well and hoovering up a whole lot of votes. With us being just shy of 50% in the polls, we could still end up with some of these nutcases in a position of power. We could end up with a very, very tight race where the parties are pretty much tied because of vote splitting and all the rest of it. So I think there needs to be a big plan on the right, including Restore, Advance, Reform, and the right wing of the Tory party. That's what I feel. And again, everyone, cards on the table. I'm a fully signed up member of Advance, and I would love to see Advance win a landslide majority, and that might happen. But if things went the way they are at the minute, despite Reform being on those figures, there could be a situation where, if the left actually did tactical voting, that we could end up with a horror coalition in the parliament. So what we need to do, we need to electrify everybody on the right to make sure that they vote and that they vote properly. And we might have to do tactical voting. And I'll be honest with you, I think people in the Tory party, people in Restore, even though Restore's not a political party, Advance, and probably some of the smaller parties would get that. But you know who wouldn't? Reform wouldn't get it. And this is why we need to be talking to our friends, because I've got loads of friends in Reform. We need to be talking to our friends in Reform because they need to eat a bit of humble pie after what happened in Caerphilly. I'm going to look at this story just now. And I know this is all boring stuff for a Wednesday morning, but it's not boring. It's really important, because if we get this wrong, we could have a big problem. Now I'm going to go to one of what I would call the enemy publications. I'm going to go to the Daily Mirror, but this is what people are realizing. This is what people are realizing, that even though Reform's got this massive lead in the polls, they're still beatable because they should have won that by-election. Now, if Farage had welcomed in the people that are in Advance, like me, and kept Ben and Rupert in the party and pivoted to the right, I think Reform would have won that by-election without a shadow of a doubt. It wouldn't have mattered about the tactical voting, because a lot of people won't have voted because they really don't like the way Reform's behaved. Reform are just not there yet. If Reform had been the party to win a landslide in the next general election, then they would have won that poll in Caerphilly. Farage was down there. They sent the whole team down there. So let's have a look at what the Daily Mirror is saying. Reform UK's failure to win a key Welsh seat last week shows Nigel Farage's party is beatable, Andy Burnham's insisted. And he's right. Unfortunately, Andy Burnham is right. The Mayor of Greater Manchester said there was an appetite in the country to challenge and stop the march of the right-wing outfit. It comes after Labour's crushing defeat in the Caerphilly Senedd by-election last week, a seat it has held since it was first created back in 1999 with Blair's lunatic devolution project, which has caused a lot of problems for the country, as we all know. Reformers threw resources at the seat and were the bookies' favourite, were denied a crucial victory, with Plaid Cymru winning 47% compared to 36% for Mr Farage's party. That should worry us. That should really worry us. Speaking during an in-conversation event with the Mirror's Real Britain columnist Ross Wynne-Jones, Mr Burnham said, isn't the positive, though, from the Caerphilly by-election that Reform are beatable? There's an appetite out there to stand up to them and stop them and challenge them. And that's true. The lefty loonies are, I don't know whether there was a deal done with the Labour Party, but the reality is Labour knew they weren't going to win. And this is what we've got to be very, very aware of, because everything's so up in the air. There's nobody can look into a crystal ball and say that Reform are going to win the next election. You really can't. And if we get another left-wing government, I honestly, the country's finished. If we have another progressive left-wing government, this is about woke versus normal people. This is about good versus evil. I'm telling you right now, the policies that this Labour government have pushed on the country already are evil. Abortion up until birth, euthanasia. We could go on and on and on. The attacks on freedom of speech, the continued appeasement of Islamists. That's what the Labour Party is doing now. What would it be like if it was a Labour Green coalition? That's a horror story. A Labour Green SNP Plaid Cymru coalition. Disaster for the UK. Absolute disaster. Yeah, so basically, I think Andy Burnham's right on that. I think Andy Burnham's absolutely right what he's saying on that, and I think the reality is, reform, that should have been a real shock to reform, and hopefully they'll 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 take that shock and they'll go, we need a bit of humility here. We need to work with other people. We need to talk to Advance. We need to talk to Restore. Now, Advance are playing to win, and the reality is, if reform are shown to be incapable of actually winning the election, then I think what will happen is that that reform will fall by the wayside, and Advance will be the party that's actually going to come through as a stalking horse and actually win the election. I think that's possible, because what will happen is, if there's a collapse in the reform vote and their popularity, say for instance they'd have sacked Sarah Pochin last week, and I think if it wasn't for Advance and for Restore and for everybody on the real centre right speaking up when Sarah Pochin was getting bullied because she had the temerity to say, well, it does seem there's a lot of ethnic minority people in these adverts. Like my wife said, she should have said, oh, there's not many white people in those adverts. If she'd have said that, would she got away with it? She might have done. She might have done. But the reality is, she should be able to say what the heck she wants about that, because it's true. She just stated a fact about the ethnic makeup of adverts, and it is disproportionate. I was watching last night. Every single advert that was on the TV, there was at least one person in the advert from an ethnic minority. Now, why is that done? Why is that done? We don't know. Nobody's given us any reasons. And it can only be put down to DEI, because the whole of the broadcast industry has been taken over by that garbage, as I found out when I got cancelled in my business. So, yeah, I'm going to have a look at some of these comments, guys. See what's been said. This now comes straight down to war for a Christian democratic nation, or an 100% right. 100% right. And what we've got to understand is that these people are using do you know what? I don't think the mods will have removed that. That's probably YouTube removing comments, because we know that's happened in the past. So yeah, let's have a look at this. Yep, thanks Alan, thanks for yeah, absolutely that's absolutely 100%. It's horrendous what's happening, and again, it's all gone quiet, hasn't it? They passed these laws, and I think it was Stella Creasy. I think Stella Creasy is the MP that's responsible for that, because she was the one that basically pushed for abortion laws in Northern Ireland, where we had no abortion in Northern Ireland. It was completely outlawed, and the will of the people was against abortion in Northern Ireland. That's been completely overthrown by this lot, by these progressives. I tell you now, guys, the ideology these people believe in is evil. I'm not saying the people are evil, but certainly their ideology is completely evil. It's completely godless, and we need to stand against it. And the comment that somebody made a little while ago was absolutely right, that this is a battle between Christians and Christian ideology and Christian ideas and communists and Islamists. That's the battle we're in now. And people have got to realize that. Polanski, Starmer, Corbyn, Sultana, Ed Davey, don't for 1 minute think that the Lib Dems are cuddly. They're not. They're wrong-uns. They're total wrong-uns. They've had Islamists in their midst. I'm not going to name them, because obviously they'll try and come out and sue me. But there's people who are some of the Gaza Five that were Lib Dem councillors, right? So that's just a fact, okay? And Plaid Cymru, socialists. This is, when that Muslim guy Humza Useless and the Labour Muslim leader in Scotland made those speeches about everybody being white in Scotland. Surprise, surprise. But if we go through, let's go through the parties. Plaid Cymru, socialists, communists. Sinn Féin, socialists or communists. SDLP, socialists or communists. The UUP, progressive, woke. Are they socialists? Quite possibly. You can go through all these little parties, and they're all completely infiltrated by extremists with extreme ideology. And we've got it in Northern Ireland. We've got some dreadful pies in Northern Ireland. People before profit. Sounds really great, doesn't it? Total wrongness. You know, and that's what we're up against. That's what we're up against. That's the reason I don't watch TV anymore. Too many. I'm only modern here, Jackie. I promise. No, I don't think anyone has removed anything. I think it's YouTube that are messing about. And again, it just shows that they're still censoring everything that we're doing. Yemi, you and last night's pastor together would be powerful. It seems like the algos don't want it. Are they really that sophisticated? I think they probably are. Because honestly, I haven't taken anything down, and Claire Bear and Farty Pants are the only other guys modding on this. Because I don't think Bess is on here this morning. I don't think she's on. So yeah, that's exactly it. Farage can't be trusted. On a podcast, he said no to mass deportations. Lee, I absolutely agree. Farage can't be trusted. That's the problem we've got. The only solution to this is an advanced UK government. And because advanced UK, because of the makeup of the party and the college and the accountability, you can't have a Farage type figure coming in and watering everything down. But again, I tell you what, actually, do you know what? There's a very good site. It's quite an old website now called Sermon Index, and you can get some amazing stuff on Sermon Index. There's another one called Sermon Audio, and Sermon Audio's got some great stuff on it. So Sermon Index and Sermon Audio, and then if you go to YouTube and just try and find some of the really good people. There's a guy called Joel Beakey, who is a pastor from Grand Rapids in Michigan, and Joel Beakey's absolutely superb for Bible teaching. If you want to learn about the Bible, Joel Beakey is 100% the guy. He runs a Bible college called Puritan Reformed Seminary, and his teaching is absolutely fantastic. I'll see if I can find some of his stuff here and maybe just drop a link into the description. Joel Beakey. Let's have a look. And there we go. joelbeakey.org. We need a change in the law that no government is above the people it serves. Incompetence needs real accountability. I would agree with that, because I think it goes deeper than even the elected politicians. I think that what's becoming obvious, so Knights Templar. So I take Knights Templars talking about the attack in Uxbridge, and that is interesting. I didn't know that. I knew there was a guy walking a dog. So the guy walking the dog was the one that was attacked. Is that right? Is that what happened? Yeah. It's funny how billionaire media has stoked fear in communities, and it's working. Media knows who to target. Well, listen. The reality is, the reason there's fear in communities is because there is genuinely a lot of bad stuff happening out there in the nation. I mean, when we look at if it wasn't for social media, we would never have had the information about the grooming gangs. If it wasn't social media, we wouldn't have seen that mob of Islamic extremists wandering around Tower Hamlets. We just wouldn't have seen them. So I'm glad that we've got a billionaire tech giant in Elon Musk who is taking a stand. But again, when I go on Twitter and I see Twitter, it's totally dominated by the left. My feed's completely clogged up by Free Palestine, jihad supporting, Hamas supporting nutcases. And the sad thing is, most of them are white, as Humzali Useless would say. They're useful idiots, like the guy that challenged the march on Saturday and said we're all on the same side, and was put in his place very, very well by the Islamists who said, no, we ain't, bruv. And that's the truth. We're not on the same side. There is division, and that division has to be dealt with. And the only way it can be dealt with is by facing down the people that have come here to destroy our culture and society. And that's what has to happen. If somebody says we're not here to take part, we're here to take over, then they don't have any place in the UK. It's as simple as that. Do you know the sad truth? I seen my first Poppy box only yesterday. Asked most children under 12 what the Poppy appeal is. And this is where the education system is absolutely disgusting, Claire. I mean, the education system is just horrendous. Explanation. Thanks very much for the super chat. That's really, really appreciated. Do you know, I was on yesterday and I was thinking, it's too this show's too early in the morning for people to do super chats because we're all pretty groggy and we're just getting out of bed, you know. But that's really appreciated. We need our side. We need to up our side of the propaganda by game. We need to go after reform and show folk exactly who they are. That's absolutely right. I absolutely agree. Who they are, why they can't be trusted, especially it's Mohammed at the helm with flip-flop Farage. Totally agree. Big problem. Big problem. Feeling defeated at the moment. Everyone I speak to outside yours and other shows just aren't interested. They just go about their business, their own business, unawares. I get that. Do you know what? We've got to keep. Look, I mean, do you know what? Our country will get what it deserves. And what I mean by that is, if our country doesn't step up to the plate and say, we need to have a radical political solution to this problem, we're going to be in real trouble. And again, the reason I went through that polling this morning, everybody thinks that we're going to have a right-wing government in reform. I don't believe that reform's a right-wing government anyway, but or would be a right-wing government. But it's not only that. Reform may not win the election. If we look at what's happened in Wales, in Caerphilly, there's no guarantee Reform are going to win. So what we need to do is build Advance as strong as we can. If we can get Advance up to 100,000 members, believe you me, I know what's happening with the policy. I've been talking to the guys that are making policy in the background. Advance will have the answers to these questions, okay? And we've got to be very, 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 very forceful once those policies come out and putting those arguments and explaining why Advance is the answer and Reform isn't. Yeah, we need to infiltrate our systems back. We absolutely do. Our country will not survive another left-wing government. And our country won't survive a government that is not completely committed to putting the people first, whatever what's this now 5+ messages box? Please try and find my EMS mate. Your emails. Yeah. Did you try and get on to get me on Twitter? Because if you get me on Twitter, I mean, it's Richard Inman. I think if you just go on to Twitter and type in Richard Inman, you'll find my account. My DMs are not locked down, so you can DM me. Unless you're blocked on Twitter, which you won't be, you should be able to DM me. So yeah, just try and get me that way. Unless it needs to be opened up so that it's only people that I follow or follow me. I don't know, but try me on Twitter for sure. I'm going to try and get into that site and have a look at the UK Freedom Movement site, because again, I'm going to start pushing the UK Freedom Movement as well. This is the last chance, guys. You know, and I'm so depressed about the political situation as well. But Advance has given me hope, and again, Advance need to be what is needed. That's the issue. Advance need to do everything that's needed. So we do need to be seeing policies pretty soon, because we need to know exactly where they stand on everything. But I would still say, if we all join Advance, then it's our party. It's the party of the people. Good morning, you lovely lot. Shalom, and God bless you. You can super chat on Jackie. You can super chat on the Counter Media channel. So let me just go to this now and show you Counter Media. I'm going to just drop it in the comments here so you know which one that you need to be watching. And that's the other thing, guys. I want, if possible, if we could have everybody, across onto Counter Media on YouTube, because I've got like 48,000 subscribers on the Richard Inman channel, okay, which is that one. But Counter Media, I've got like 6,500 or something like that. Not even that, 6,100. So we need to get Counter Media up, because the Richard Inman channel is demonetized forever. That happened in 2019 when everybody got banned. We got banned from Facebook, we got shadow banned on Twitter, and we got demonetized on YouTube. And yesterday, I heard yesterday that AY Audits got demonetized on YouTube, which I think is absolutely disgusting. Okay. My live chat wouldn't send before. Hope this works. Good morning, Richard, and everybody. Yeah, I mean, maybe just everybody's got a super chat me, and that's how we can make sure they get through. But I'm only joking about that. But yeah, if you want a super chat, go onto that that account there at Counter Media UK, and we'll pick up the super chats there. Morning, Richard. Morning, everyone. Thank you with the lovely words yesterday. I got away from prison where I had not committed a crime using the mental health route of the illegal immigrants committing evil. Thank you with the lovely words. I got away from prison where I had not committed a crime using the mental health route of the illegal immigrants committing evil. Okay. Rupert Lowe is a posh man who understands the struggles for us. He is great. Yeah, Rupert's great. I agree. Rupert is great. I'm not sure about Ben Habib. If you're not in Christ, you can very easily veer away to godless rule. I agree. We need Christian leaders. I would agree with that. There's no way Advance will win over the centre ground reform could. You see, the problem is, Malky, I get what you're saying, but the problem we've got is Farage has deliberately alienated the British working class by his attitude towards the United Kingdom movement and Tommy Robinson. He has deliberately excluded us from the political realm. Advance haven't. Advance have said, no, you're welcome to join. Okay. Advance, I think, is the answer, and not reform. Advance will give reform a run for its money, whereby reform will have to change some of their policies. I agree. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. If Advance don't win an election or don't do well in an election, I think what's going to happen is I think they're basically going to drag reform to the right, and that's what Restore should be doing. And I agree with this. Rupert Lowe needs to align with Advance UK. I absolutely agree with that. I think that would change everything. And why he hasn't, I don't know. Good morning, all. My MP is a Lib Dem, and he voted for full-term abortion and assisted. Think about this. This is a Lib Dem. This is someone that's meant to be a liberal. Think about that. And they voted to kill babies when they're just before they're born. That's what it is. It's murdering a full-term baby and then murdering your granny. That's what these people have voted for. That's what they're voting for. And it's just completely unacceptable. Oh, thanks for that, Merlin. That's absolutely fantastic. Merlin's just become a member. Great stuff. The Wood, Plaid Cymru, Socialists, Fabians, absolutely 100%. That's what they are. And yeah, I mean, this is what we're up against, guys. This is what we're up against. Plaid Cymru. How could anybody vote for these people? When I watch Pastor Yemi be live on YouTube, 90% of comments are deleted. Wow. I get around it by emailing screenshot to comment afterwards. And again, I'm going to get on and get into that that UK Freedom Movement site today, because I want to start pushing the UK Freedom Movement, because we need as many different tools in the toolbox to take these people on. And again, the UK Freedom Movement, it does what it says on the tin. It's about freedom. It's about freeing our country from tyranny. It's about protecting those freedoms, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, not false religion, but freedom of Christianity. I should probably say. Stephen Barrett is amazing on the Fabians. We're fighting darkness. Well, do you know what the thing is? Ben doesn't actually want to be the party leader. Really, he's doing it because he feels called to do it. So if he has somebody that steps up that becomes leader, he may not be the prime minister. Somebody else may do it for sure. Remember, Ben wanted Rupert Lowe to be a leader. He's a Christian. Ben is very much wanting to preserve and encourage. He is. Ben's 100% wanting to preserve Christian values. Again, nobody knows why AY has been demonetized. I'm guessing it's because of the Channel 4 hit piece they did on it. It's absolutely disgusting. Advance and Recall will hold Farage to account. Well, somebody's going to have to hold him to account. Remember, Tommy. Remember, Ben wouldn't have anything to do with Tommy until he fell out with Farage. I think Ben's been on a journey without a shadow of a doubt. Ben's been on a journey, and I have got to know Ben over the past year, and I can guarantee you, Ben is a man of the highest integrity, and he's a good guy. So, how do you join Advance? Okay, I'm going to drop another link in the description here. Let's have a look. Excuse me. So, right, guys, I'm just dropping that. In fact, actually, let me just do this. This is probably an easier way to do this. There you go. So we should have a web address for Advance UK somewhere. Have we got a web address on that? Let's have a look. Let me drop the link in the comments. So if you go to that link, the Advance UK link, and once that's the page, once you get onto that page, and I'm going to put this in the description of the videos as well. Once you get to that page, you should be able to. Oh, that's weird. Okay, I'm not going to mess about with that. I'll do it at the end of the video. At the end of the video, what I'll do, I'll put the actual links into the description. But if you go to that link there, you'll be able to find you'll find Advance, and you better join. Just check UKFM website. Do you know what it is, Claire? I think he's trying to email me through the actual website itself, and I'm going to check that website out and find out where the emails are going to. That's what I need to do. I'll do that this morning. Guys, there's 8 o'clock. Morning, Lily. How are you? Good to see you. All these fringe groups will do nothing to this system of voting. It's too late. All it will do is split the vote to the old parties. Yeah, I get what you're saying there, James, but I think it's more complex than that now. I think we're in a situation where yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I think we're in a situation where we've got to try something different. And is it going to be reform? If it is, I think we've got a problem, but we've got a bigger problem if it's a left wing. Yeah, because of what's going on. I wrote a song for Advance UK. Can I email it to you? Listen, do me a favor. Go onto my Twitter and send me it as a direct message on Twitter. That's the best way to get me, because again, I'm going to reset up all the emails so I can actually get emails from you guys. But at the minute, yeah, I think we're near. I think we're near 40,000. I think we're near 40,000. But we need to keep pushing it. We need to keep pushing Advance much more, because we need to get people. We need to get people on Advance, guys. I'm going to shoot off here, but thanks for that this morning. Thanks for the supers. Really, really appreciated. And let's just keep doing this. Let's keep building this community, because the reality is there's not very many people coming at this in the way that I'm coming at it. And there we go. The pledge and Advance UK are already within my vows. Brilliant. I mean, the pledge is really important as well. We've got to get people signing the pledge. So there's so many things that we can do, and we've got to do them. Right, guys, I'm going to go. That's my hour. And if I don't get off now, I'll turn into a pumpkin. So see you all soon. Take it easy, guys.